I was deep inside the guts of Server Rack 5, inhaling the comforting scent of ozone and dust bunnies when the summons came. It was a nervous intern named Gary, shaking like a chihuahua passing a kidney stone, telling me that Mr. Julian wanted to see me in the glass-walled conference room. I wiped the thermal paste off my hands onto my jeans because screw the dress code. I am a 48-year-old man keeping the lights on, and headed upstairs. Now, before I tell you how I turned a massive logistics company into a brick in less than 3 hours, do me a favor. If you like watching rich kids get reality checked by the working class, hit that subscribe button and smash the like. Thanks. I walked into the conference room. The air conditioning was set to meat locker. Sitting in the CEO's chair was his son, Julian. Julian has that haircut that costs $400 to look like he just woke up and teeth so white they threatened to blind pilots mid-flight. Next to him was a guy wearing a hoodie that probably cost more than my truck tapping away on a tablet. "Robert," Julian said, not looking up from his phone, "thanks for coming up. Take a seat." I didn't sit. I have been working at Vanguard Logistics for 13 years, since Julian was struggling with the concept of potty training. I have survived 3 mergers and a ransomware attack. I don't sit for junior varsity. "What is up, Julian? The network is green, the backups are verified, and I have a migration to finish." Julian finally looked up. He gave me a pitying smile. "Yeah, about that. We are making some changes, strategic pivots. We are moving to a cloud-native, synergy-focused infrastructure." I blinked. "Julian, those are buzzwords. They do not mean anything. Our infrastructure is already hybrid cloud. I built it." "Right," he said, waving his hand dismissively. "But it is clunky, old school like you. We need fresh eyes. This is Dexter. Dexter is a visionary. He is going to be taking over as Chief Technology Officer effective immediately." The silence that followed was loud enough to break glass. "Chief Technology Officer, Julian? I am the systems coordinator. I report to the CEO. Dad is on a flight to London. He put me in charge of operations while he is gone, and my first operation is trimming the fat." "You are out, Robert." It hit me like a physical blow to the gut. 13 years of 3 in the morning alarms, of missing birthdays because a database corrupted, and I was being replaced by a guy named Dexter who looked like he vaped custard-flavored poison. "You are firing me," I said, my voice dangerously low. "For him?" "We are letting you go," Julian corrected, flashing a smile that was all veneers and no soul. "Severance is standard, but we need your key card and your admin credentials." Now, Dexter spoke up. "Yeah, if you could just write down the root passwords on a sticky note, that would be chill." He wanted the keys to a global logistics infrastructure on a sticky note. The rage started in my toes. It burned hot and fast, scorching its way up my spine. I let out a breath that smelled like stale office coffee and the cigarette I had smoked in the parking lot an hour ago. "Okay," I said. "You want the keys, you got them." I pulled out my phone, opened the admin app, and tapped log out. I am logging out of the master control console, but you should know something before I walk out that door. The system is built on a dead man's switch. It requires a biometric handshake, my thumbprint, every 180 minutes to verify system integrity. It is a fail-safe I installed after the breach in 2022. Your dad authorized it. Julian laughed. "A biometric handshake? What is this, a spy movie? Get real. It is a compliance requirement. Without my scan, the validation protocols will fail. The system assumes a hostile takeover and locks down everything. We will bypass it," Dexter said. "I know Python." I almost laughed. "Python will not save you. You have exactly 3 hours before the servers go dark, the vendor APIs sever connection, and the warehouse robots freeze in place." Julian stood up. "You are bluffing. Hand over the laptop and get out." I placed my laptop on the table, setting my badge on top of it. I looked at the clock. 9 in the morning exactly. "Tick-tock, Julian," I said. "You have until noon." I turned on my heel and walked out. The walk to the elevator felt like a funeral procession of one. People nodded at me as I passed the cubicle farms. Brenda from accounting waved. She didn't know the ship was being steered by a couple of toddlers on a sugar high. I stepped into the elevator and pressed ground. As the door slid shut, I felt a strange sensation in my chest. It wasn't panic, it was lightness. The weight of the servers, the constant anxiety about uptime, it was gone. I walked out into the parking lot. The sky was that flat, non-committal gray it loves so much. I leaned against my beat-up Ford F-150 and fumbled for my pack. I lit a cigarette. The smoke hit my lungs like an old friend. I exhaled a plume of gray into the gray air. 3 hours, I whispered to the asphalt. Upstairs, Julian was probably high-fiving Dexter. They were probably talking about how easy it was to clear out the deadwood. He is just bitter, Julian would say. Biometric handshake, please. Who does he think he is? Dexter would be inspecting my laptop. Dude, this thing is a brick. I am going to order some MacBook Pros. They wouldn't even try to log in for another 30 minutes. They would be too busy planning their office decor. But the system is a cold, mathematical beast. At 9:15 in the morning, the first scheduled task would attempt to run. It is a heartbeat check that pings the external vendor gateways. The timestamp would be old. The system would flag a soft warning on the main dashboard. But Julian and Dexter weren't looking at the main dashboard. I ground the cigarette butt into the pavement. I wasn't going home. I had a front row seat to the apocalypse, and I wasn't going to miss the opening act. There is a dive bar across the street called the Library. I walked in, ordered a whiskey neat, and set my phone on the bar. I have a shadow relay that pings my personal device whenever the main server throws a critical error. At 9:45 in the morning, my phone buzzed. Notification, user admin failed login attempt. IP address, internal executive suite. I smirked. We are trying to get in. Hey, Dexter would be saying. Julian, it is not letting me in. It says access denied, guarantor key missing. Try password 123, Julian would suggest. It is locked, dude. Call it support. Julian would snap. Tell them to reset the password. I took a sip of whiskey. IT support was Mike. I trained him to never touch the root directory without my written sign-off. My phone buzzed again. Notification. Ticket hash 9942 created. Subject, cannot log in, fix now. Priority low. Mike knew that if the request came from Julian and didn't copy me, it went to the bottom of the pile. Their key, I muttered to the bartender. I think they do not need the key. Rough day? The bartender asked. Best day of my life, I said. Hit me again. The countdown was at 120 minutes. The heartbeat check had failed. The system was now moving from curious to suspicious. And trust me, you do not want a multi-million-dollar logistics network to get paranoid. It starts shutting doors you didn't even know were open. The whiskey was settling in, warming the cold knot of anger in my stomach. My phone buzzed. 10:10 in the morning. Notification, system alert, load balancing failure, node 5 unresponsive. Here we go. The load balancer distributes traffic between our servers in Virginia and the backup site in Ireland. Every hour it asks for permission to rotate the encryption keys. If it doesn't get the biometric handshake, it assumes the connection is compromised. It protects itself. It starts cutting bridges. In the office, the lights would still be on. But on the monitors in the logistics department, screens were starting to freeze. I could picture Brenda in dispatch. She would be hitting refresh right now. Why is the tracking spinning? She would yell over the cubicle wall. Mine too, Larry from inventory would answer. I cannot pull the manifest for the Chicago shipment. Up in the conference room, Julian and Dexter were probably starting to sweat. My phone buzzed again, a text message from Mike in IT. Mike, hey boss, strange request from the prince. He is screaming about passwords, says you quit. Dashboard is flashing yellow. What is going on? I didn't reply. 10 minutes later, 10:20 in the morning. The text was from an unknown number. Unknown, hey Robert, it is Julian. Dexter is having a little trouble syncing his credentials. Does the system really need your scan or is there like a master code? Just need to push a small update, thanks. Quick question, small update, the language of the incompetent. He thought this was a glitch. He didn't understand that he was sitting inside a submarine and he had just opened the screen door. I typed back. Me, not a code, it is biometric. 100 minutes left, Julian. I put the phone down. 10:30 in the morning. The notifications on my Shadow app were coming in faster now, scrolling up the screen. Critical database lock initiated. Critical API gateway timeout. Warning, external vendor UPS connection severed. We are a logistics company. If we cannot talk to the shippers, we aren't moving boxes. We are just a warehouse full of expensive junk. I closed my eyes and imagined the sound on the floor. Customers asking where their tracking numbers were. Drivers calling in from the road because their tablets had gone dead. The hum of the servers in the basement would be changing pitch, the fans spinning up to max speed as the processors tried to resolve the deadlock, getting hotter and hotter, screaming into the void for a key that wasn't there. My phone rang. It was Julian. I let it ring again and again. I picked up on the fourth try. "Hello?" I sounded bored. "Robert!" Julian's voice was an octave higher than usual. "Pick up the damn phone. Why is the shipping module down? We are losing $52,000 a minute." "I told you, Julian. Dead man's switch. The system thinks the cockpit is empty. It is putting the plane in the ocean to keep it from being hijacked." "Fix it. Give me the code." "I cannot give you a fingerprint over the phone, genius." "This is sabotage," he screamed. "I will have you arrested for cyber terrorism." "I didn't do anything, Julian. I am doing exactly what you told me to do. I am gone. The system is working exactly as designed. It is verifying that the authorized administrator is present. You fired the authorized administrator. This is on you. Dexter says he can bypass it. He is in the command shell right now." I laughed, a genuine belly laugh. "Dexter is in the command shell, Julian. Tell Dexter that if he tries to force a mount on the encrypted drive without the key, the system activates the scorched earth protocol. Data turns to noise, forever." There was a muffled conversation on the other end. I heard Dexter's voice sounding panicked. "Wait," he said, "scorched earth? Stop typing. You are bluffing." Julian said, but his voice was shaking, "Try me. You have 85 minutes. I hung up. The bartender poured me another shot. The bar was starting to fill up with the lunch rush, mostly guys from the nearby construction site. Dust on their boots, exhaustion in their eyes. My phone was vibrating constantly. 10:40 in the morning. The internal chat threads were leaking. "Brenda dispatch. Anyone seen Robert?" "Julian is running around the floor screaming at the servers." "Larry Inventory, Mike from IT says he got fired. Is that true? If he is gone, who the hell knows how to fix the legacy bridge?" "Mike IT, I am hiding in the server closet." "Dexter just asked me what a Linux is. We are doomed." I smiled. They weren't panicking about the job. They were panicking about the incompetence. I knew Julian's next move. Julian would be frantically dialing the CEO's private number. But the CEO, Mr. Harrington, is a man of habits. When he flies international, he flies disconnected. He calls it his Zen time. He was currently somewhere over the Atlantic Ocean, blissfully unaware that his son was lighting his legacy on fire. 10:45 in the morning. A new number called. "This is Robert," I answered. "Mr. Vance, this is Greg from Omnicorp Support, the external contractor. Hey, Greg. Long time." "Robert, look, we just got a Priority 1 emergency ticket from a guy named Julian. He is demanding we remote in and disable the biometric lock on your core server. He says he is the acting CEO." "He is," I said. "Okay, well, he is screaming. But here is the thing. I am looking at the documentation you filed. The guarantor protocol. It says explicitly that any attempt to override the biometric lock remotely is a violation of the Federal Data Privacy Agreement. If we force this, we trigger an audit." I took a slow sip of whiskey. "That sounds accurate. Greg, Section 12 Alpha? Right. So I cannot do it without losing my license and going to jail." I tried to explain this to him. He told me I was fired too. Sounds like him. What do you want me to do? "We are seeing packet loss in the 85% range. The warehouses are going dark. The robots have stopped moving." "Do nothing, Greg. Follow the protocol. If you intervene, you are liable. Let it ride. He is threatening to sue Omnicorp. Let him. Just document everything. Record the calls. Already doing it." "Good luck, Robert. I am just a tech for data, Greg." I hung up. 10:50 in the morning. 70 minutes left. The complication for Julian wasn't just the tech. It was the web of legal and bureaucratic armor I had built around that tech. He didn't realize he was fighting the entire federal legal code regarding data privacy. I had built that wall not to keep hackers out, but to keep idiots like him from getting in. I knew deep down that one day Mr. Harrington would retire and this haircut in a suit would take over. I had prepared for this day for years. The text came through from Mike again. "Mike, Julian is crying like actual tears. He is in the conference room banging on the glass. Dexter is sitting on the floor with his head in his hands. The lights in the hallway just flickered." Is that normal? Me. Load setting. The system is cutting power to non-essential circuits to preserve the core memory. Tell everyone to save their work locally. The network drives are about to vanish. I wasn't scary. I was just thorough. The bartender looked at me. You waiting for someone? Yeah, I said, checking my watch. I am waiting for an apology. 11:55 in the morning, 5 minutes to noon. My phone rang. It was Julian again. On the fifth ring, I slid the green icon. Robert. His voice was different now. Gone was the arrogant boardroom bark. This was the voice of a man looking over the edge of a cliff and realizing he forgot his parachute. It was quiet, defeated. Hey, Julian, found that sticky note yet? Please, he said. Please, Robert, stop it. I am sorry. I am sorry I fired you. Just come back and fix it. We can talk about a contract, consultant basis. Consultant basis, I repeated, tasting the words. They tasted like cheap ash. You fire me after 13 years. Humiliate me in front of a guy who wears a hoodie, and now you want to hire me back as a consultant. I cannot restart the system, Robert. The contractors will not touch it. They are citing some legal thing. It is not some legal thing, Julian. It is the law. Go to my desk. Is my laptop still there? Yes, he sniffled. It is right here. Open it. It is locked, but you can access the public read-only folder from the guest account. Do it. I heard him fumbling. Okay, I am in guest account. Go to the folder marked Doomsday. Open the document titled Compliance Protocols 2024. I see it. Go to page 42. Section 12 Alpha. Read the highlighted paragraph aloud. I heard a shaky breath. In the event of a system-wide reset or administrative change, he read, his voice trembling, the primary system guarantor, that is you, must be physically present to authenticate the chain of custody. Failure to provide biometric verification constitutes a breach of the Federal Data Protection Act, Level 4. Keep reading, Julian. The bold text, any attempt to bypass, circumvent, or spoof this authentication will result in an automatic notification to the Department of Homeland Security, Cyber Division, and an immediate freeze of all company assets pending federal audit. Silence. Terrified silence. You rigged the system to call the feds? I secured it. We handle medical logistics. We move sensitive data. That protocol protects us from hackers and apparently protects the company from you. If Dexter tries to force it, then you aren't just bankrupt, I said. You are a felon. You will be trading that Italian suit for an orange jumpsuit. What do I do? He whispered. You cannot do anything, I said. You have less than 2 minutes. If I am not there to scan my thumb, the system assumes you are a hostile actor. It shuts down, the database is locked, the keys are deleted, the company goes dark, and then the automatic report goes to Washington. Come back, he begged. Name your price, double your salary, triple it. It is an 8-minute drive from the bar to the office, Julian. Even if I left right now, I wouldn't make it. No, do not say that. You wanted to trim the fat, I said coldly. Well, you cut the heart out instead. Hope you know CPR. I hung up. 11:59 in the morning. I watched the second hand on the analog clock above the bar. At noon exactly, on my phone screen, the waterfall of notifications stopped. It froze. A single final notification appeared. System status. Lockdown initiated. Cassette's frozen. Report filed. Boom, I whispered. I signaled the bartender. I will close my tab, but keep the bottle out. I have a feeling I am going to have company soon. The thing about a building controlled by a central server is that you forget how much is actually controlled by the central server. It is not just email. It is the electronic door locks. It is the smart glass tinting on the windows. When the lockdown hit at noon, the smart building became a stupid prison. According to Mike, the office had turned to a scene from a disaster movie minus the zombies. Mike voice note, dude, the blinds just slammed shut, all of them at once. It is pitch black in here except for the emergency exit signs, and the air conditioning just shut off. Julian is screaming again. I sat in the bar sipping water now. I needed to be sharp for the finale. Back at the office, the warehouse robots, those little orange automated units that scurry around the floor picking boxes, had all stopped. Dead in the middle of the aisles. A frantic manager from the warehouse floor called the fishbowl line. Julian, the bots are dead. We have trucks at the dock waiting to load, and we cannot move the pallets. Inventory system is showing a skull and crossbones. Then came the defection. Dexter, the visionary, realized that this wasn't a coding challenge. This was a career-ending event. Mike narrated the scene via text. Dexter just stood up. He threw the tablet on the table. He is yelling at Julian. I am not going to jail for your dad's company. Dexter is running to the stairs. He tried the elevator, but it is locked out. He has to walk down 12 flights. Julian was alone in the dark, a glass room that was rapidly heating up because the HVAC was offline. My phone buzzed. It was a notification from flight tracking software. I had an alert set for Mr. Harrington's tail number. Status change, flight diverted. Reason: passenger request for priority landing. The old man had internet again. Either that or he finally paid for the insanely expensive wireless. He knew, you cannot hide a forest fire when the smoke is visible from space. My phone rang. The voice was gravel and steel. Mr. Harrington. Hello, sir. Enjoying the flight? Cut the crap, Vance. I am looking at a dashboard that tells me my company has ceased to exist. I am looking at a notification from the Homeland Security asking if we have been compromised by a foreign state. And I have 40 missed calls from my son. Julian says you went rogue. He says you hacked the system and are holding it for ransom. Julian lies, sir. I was terminated. I logged out as per security protocol. The system is simply waiting for the authorized guarantor to log back in. That is the lock on the front door working exactly as you paid for it to work. He fired you? Yes. Replaced me with a kid named Dexter who thinks Python is just a snake. And you let the system crash. I didn't let it crash, sir. I honored the chain of command. You put Julian in charge. Julian put me on the street. The system followed the logic. He grunted. I am landing in 40 minutes. Get your ass back to the office, Robert. I do not work there anymore, sir. I was fired. Robert, do not play poker with me. I taught you how to bluff. If you want me to fix this, it is not going to be as an employee, and it is not going to be cheap. We will talk when I get there. Meet me in the lobby. 40 minutes. Vance, he barked. Get to the damn office. The line went dead. I smiled. The leverage wasn't just back, it was multiplying. I walked out to my truck. The drive back was slow. I obeyed every speed limit. I stopped at every yellow light. When I pulled into the parking lot, it was chaos. Logistics trucks were backed up onto the main road honking. The building itself looked dark, lifeless. I leaned against the hood of my truck and waited. The king was coming home, and the prince was about to get dethroned. A black town car screeched into the lot. The door flew open and Mr. Harrington stepped out. He is 67, built like a retired linebacker with silver hair. He spotted me and jerked his head toward the door. We entered the lobby together. It was dim. Mr. Harrington, the head of security, gasped, "Sir, nothing works. The turnstiles are locked." Harrington grabbed the metal bar and kicked the mechanism so hard something snapped. The bar spun freely. "It works now," he growled. We took the stairs, 12 flights. Harrington took them 2 at a time, fueled by rage. I kept pace, fueled by spite. When we reached the executive floor, the glass walls of the conference room were fogged up from the heat. Inside, Julian was sitting at the head of the table, surrounded by the debris of his failure. Harrington threw the door open. Julian jumped. "Dad, thank goodness you are here. Robert sabotaged us." Harrington picked up my laptop. And why did he do that? Because we were making changes, and he got defensive. "He fired me," I said from the doorway. "Julian fired me at 9 in the morning for being old school." Harrington turned to Julian. "You fired the system's guarantor while I was over the ocean, while we have 3 major contracts pending renewal." "He is dead weight, Dad," Julian stammered. "Dexter said we could upgrade. Where is this Dexter?" "He ran," I clarified. "He realized he couldn't hack a mainframe with a tablet." Harrington looked back at Julian. Disappointment in his eyes was worse than anger. "Do you know why Robert is the guarantor? He is the only reason we are not just a trucking company, but a secure logistics partner. You unplugged the life support machine because you wanted to charge your phone. Fix it." I didn't move. "I cannot, sir. Access is restricted to authorized personnel." "You hire him," Julian Harrington ordered. "Rehire him now. Apologize and rehire him." Julian looked at me. His face was red and wet. "Robert, I am rehiring you." Sorry, I said. "I am not interested in my old position." Harrington let out a short laugh. "All right, Vance. You win. What do you want?" "Full autonomy," I said. "No oversight from operations. No oversight from him. 5-year contract guaranteed and a 30% raise." "Done," Harrington said immediately. "And I want his office. The one with the view." Harrington looked at his son. "Get your stuff, Julian. Get your stuff." Julian stood up, trembling, and shuffled out of the room like a beaten dog. Harrington looked at me. "Are we good?" "We are good." The walk from the conference room to the server room was a coronation. Harrington stayed upstairs to clean up the mess. I took the stairs down to the basement levels. As I passed the IT bullpen, Mike was there looking pale. When he saw me, his face broke into a grin. "He returns," he shouted. A cheer went up. Actual applause. People were clapping. They all knew who actually ran this place. "Status, Mike?" I asked. "Bad. Core temperature is critical. The biometric lock won't even accept a scan unless it is from the console." We reached the heavy steel door of the server room. It was locked. "We might have to drill the lock," Mike said. "Analog backups, Mike." I took the physical key from under the fire extinguisher, slid it into the cylinders, and turned. The heavy tumblers clicked. I pushed the door open. The room smelled of hot plastic and stressed silicon. The servers were humming loudly, their fans screaming at max speed to fight the heat. I walked to the main console and sat down. I woke up the monitor. The screen was black with a single red prompt: identity verification required. System lockdown in progress. Remaining time until data purge, 1 minute 30. Scorched earth, I said. I was going to protect the data from unauthorized users. I looked at the fingerprint scanner. I pressed my thumb against the glass. The scanner flashed green. The screen flickered. The red text vanished. Biometric match confirmed. "Welcome, Administrator Vance. Canceling purge protocol. Restoring systems." It started as a low rumble, the sound of the air conditioning units kicking back on, the rush of cool air flooding the room. The lights on the server racks turned from angry red to amber, then a cascade of green. Database mounted, API gateways connected, external vendor links restored. "We are green," Mike shouted, pumping his fist. I typed in a few commands, smoothing out the load spikes. My fingers flew across the mechanical keyboard. Click-clack, the heartbeat of the company. Upstairs, the warehouse robots would be waking up. The world would start turning again. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled. "Good job, Mike. Go tell the floor we are operational." I was alone again. I pulled up the security camera feed. I saw Julian walking out the front door, carrying a cardboard box. He stopped at the curb looking for a ride share. I watched him for a minute. "Synergy," I whispered. I picked up my phone and typed one final message to the group chat. "Me, system clear. Do not touch my settings again. See you all tomorrow." We are all healed, especially my bank account. Big thanks for watching, you sneaky seniors. Subscribe to keep the coffee pot brewing revenge. Your ex-colleagues will not know what hit them.